Hello, everyone, and welcome to the behind-the-scenes feature of the revised Family Edition. If you guys have seen the previous behind-the-scenes feature, this is very similar. I'm going to show some behind-the-scenes clips while I talk over and talk about the development of this film. Beginning with the development process, going back to the origins of a trilogy, this is something Rebecca and I had a long time ago. We always had in our heads the idea of doing 3 movies. The first one would be a movie that would, be a fictitious take on us having our first child. The second movie originally was going to be a fictitious take on if we had, when we had our second child, because we always knew we wanted 2 children. And the third and final film was going to be, we would cut and wait until our firstborn was 16 years old, which was the age I was when I directed my first film, The Essence of Tolkien. And we would kind of pick up there and visit the family and see how everyone's doing, and that would be the conclusion of this 16-year plus project that we would work on. What happened was I ended up being diagnosed with a special type of cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma, the soft tissue variant. And thankfully, after about a year of fighting this cancer, I was fine. At the time of this recording, I'm actually 4 years cancer-free. But as a byproduct, I was left not able to have children in the good old-fashioned fun way. But we were at the 5-year point, the point where our son was turning 5, and that was when we wanted to make the sequel. So we kind of thought, you know what, let's make the sequel, and if we do end up having a second child, that could be something we could explore in the third film, if we wanted to. But we felt it was right to make the third film, then and there. So that became kind of our idea, following up on the first movie and just how we want to go about doing that. The writing process kind of evolved from that idea to follow up from the first film. I had this idea that I pitched to Becca, and the idea was, let's make a shorter film, because I felt the first movie was far too long. I told her, why don't we aim for like a 10-minute movie, even shorter if we can, and it's a real 3-act thing where we have kind of like a prologue sort of thing. We have a second act where we mess around with the timeline like we did in the first movie. The first movie was not told chronologically. I said, why don't we go chronologically, but when we get to Act 2, we show, like, in the same time frame, 3 different moments happening. Like, one moment with our son Jack, one moment with my wife, and then one moment with me, and it's all happening within the same time frame, and there's kind of like a little bit of a crossover from time to time. And then the final Act 3 would be all of us coming back together. So she liked the idea. She thought that was really cool. It was different from the first movie. And so that springboarded us into the writing process of the story and the screenplay. I once again invited my wife if she wanted to write the screenplay with me, and she did not. This time it wasn't really because of time. Time was a factor in the first film. This time around it was more she just didn't feel like she could do that. Like, it was something that she's more into writing prose and passages in novels, and writing dialogue and stage direction and the screenplay rules is just something she's not interested. So, I respected that, and instead we worked together on the story of the film, like we did in the first movie. Our son was involved in that process. His contribution to the story was we asked him, "What do you want your character to do?" And he told us without skipping a beat, "I want to be Mario. I want to, become Mario." And we're like, okay. And we came up with the idea of he imagines himself in the world of Mario while he's playing his Switch. Like I picked what I wanted to do, which was having, I wanted my character to, my face is a little bit different from the first movie, and I wanted to reflect that with, cancer talk and things of that nature. And Rebecca picked what she did. She wanted to change what her character was doing because at the time now Rebecca works remotely, and she wanted that to be reflected, kind of like a life imitates art sort of thing with her character of Sarah in the movie. That became, the story was kind of locked in. I went off, and just like in the first movie, I would write the screenplay. I would come back, I would present it to Becca, and we would talk about it, what should be changed and what we should go back, and that was kind of like a back and forth sort of thing. There was one thing though, the speech that or Becca's monologue that she gives at that point of the story, her part, that was all written by Becca. I take no credit for that. I told her, "Could you write this? I think this is something you should write." And she was like, "Okay, I'll write that." And that became the screenplay, and we had that locked and loaded. So once the development was gone, we moved on to the pre-production stage, and really the pre-production stage was just focusing on a few things. One was getting the costumes, getting what we wanted to do for the movie. My friend Brian, he gave me this idea when I was telling him about the movie, when we were in when we were in pre-production, and he came up with an idea that I have to give him credit on this behind the scenes talk. He said, "Oh man, you know what you should do? When Jack gets sucked into the game and he's Mario, Becca should be Peach and you should be Bowser." And I said, yes. That, increased the budget a bit. We definitely saved up for this. This is a no budget film, so we had to wait for paychecks and what we could afford. But no, we were able to get Becca a really great Peach costume with the gloves, and we got her a wig, and the Bowser costume came in, and if you see in certain shots, there's like a weird white kind of like blob around my crotch area. That's because you could very much see male camel toe. And then kind of as a happenstance, I didn't really think I was going to do this, but I ended up I really started looking into toupees and things of that nature, and I had bought this fake hair. It was made out of real hair, and it was a toupee that if I applied to my hair from a certain angle of my part line, it kind of looked like, the way I used to style my hair, just if I had gotten like a new kind of like half-shaved haircut. And around that time, Rebecca was getting a nose ring, and I thought it would be really funny if my character wore a nose ring as well, so I got a fake nose ring that kind of added to it, just to give Movie 2's Matt like a unique look. Last part of the pre-production process was, the order that we're going to film things. Definitely wanted to get all of Jack's shots out of the way, even if it was, elements of bigger scenes. So that's the first thing we did over the course of, I think, 2 or 3, I think it was 3 days. And then we had a day for Rebecca, and we had a day for me, and then we had like a pickup shots day. So yeah, that was kind of like the last bit of organization, and at that point we were ready to, go forth with the filming. So we had everything ready for production, and we moved into production. It was about a 6-day film shoot. We had the 3 Jack days, the Becca day, the Chris day, and the pickup shots day. And that was shot over the course of roughly 2.5 months, something like that. And the big part of it was just wanting breaks because we had time to do it. Time wasn't as bad of an element. I don't think Jack had started school yet. He might have. I can't remember. No, yeah, he had started school already. But he got out relatively early, and we were focusing mostly on weekends. But we did, it's our personal lives. This is something we're doing for no budget. We're just doing, art for art's sake. So when life kind of kicks in, we have to step back and sort of allow ourselves to have breaks. The first day of filming was everything involving Jack, which wasn't really a lot. It was essentially him playing his Switch and then running off. And that day actually went really well. He was very involved. It was Jack's first real day of filming, and he was so involved. He wanted to know. He had so many questions as an actor. He was like, what is this? Why am I doing this? Like, what does this connect to? How is this? Because he hadn't, read the script. He can't read yet. So this was all fairly new to him. And it was just so cool. I'm like, God, it was like a real weird experience of being like, I'm directing my son right now. Like, this is someone my wife and I created. I'm directing him in a film. And that was really cool. Day 2 was the green screen stuff. And that was a long day. Not a long day, it was a tiring day. Because we had to do a lot. We had to film Jack doing all of his cues. Then I had to wear this extremely unflattering green screen suit that was just head to toe. You got zipped into this bodysuit where it wasn't very breathy. So the material, so it was kind of hard to breathe in. And I had to pick up my son so that he could do a high kick. That shot was one of the hardest shots of the movie because Jack just thought it was hilarious. And we kept telling him, okay, we're gonna pick you up, you're gonna throw the kick. And the shot just kept getting messed up in almost every take. And we had to kind of pull him aside and be like, listen, buddy, your dad, he can't really breathe in this. We have a lot more, I know you're excited. Don't you want to see us in our costumes? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. So, we were able to nail it because he was really excited to see us wear our costumes. And then I put back my regular clothes. We filmed Rebecca as Peach so that Jack can kind of have a break, and all her elements were separate. And she looked great. She had a really fun time doing that. And then once she was done, I put on the Bowser costume. And we did all the rest of the stuff. We did everything involving Jack and I together. There were certain elements that I had to do by myself, to be edited in with Jack, like kicking and stuff like that. And, it was great. It was very laborious, especially with Jack. He was just very excited because, he loves Mario. And here we are all dressed up. And he's a child. He's 5. And it's hard to focus. And it was his first movie. And we understood that. And a big thing for us was we didn't want him to do this movie unless he wanted to. And from the very beginning, he's like, yes. In fact, I remember after that day, he told me, Daddy, I want to be in all your movies. And I was like, really? And he says, yes, all your movies. And I told him, you will always have a part in all my movies, and I will always offer as long as he wants to do it, of course. So then we moved on to his final day, Jack's, which was elements of scenes with me and Becca, all kind of put together. And that was fairly straightforward for the most part. It was just really getting the costume, doing long shots, doing close-ups, and making sure the correct, actors were in frame. And, we had to refer back to that footage the following day when we did Rebecca's footage and, all her shots. And essentially we had to match up with what we had did, when we got to that day of filming. Then the fifth day, we got sick. Well, rather, I got sick. It began this year event where my son started preschool, and we've all been getting sick. Day 5, I decided to flip it. I said, you know what? Let me do what we were going to do for the pickup shots that we know we want to do, which was the intro of the film, essentially. So that whole intro I shot while being sick. But eventually I recovered, and we moved on to the final day of filming, which was basically all of my shots, related to the ending of the movie, related to me talking to the computer. And, that was relatively straightforward. It was really fascinating because I did this really long take where I had Becca off in a corner feeding me lines, and I was reacting to it, and it was just a very long take. And we were using audio, from the day of filming, mixed in with stuff that we were going to dub over. So that was a very technical day, but it was also very fun to do. I really love long shots in films, and if I can do a long shot in a film, I will, if I can. And then that was a wrap on the film. We had a wrap on the film, and we went into a very long post-production process. So we entered the post-production process, and it was a lengthy one. Primarily because of the green screen sequence. The green screen sequence just had so many elements. It's something I'd never done before. It was complicated for a bunch of reasons. The first reason was we were getting multiple elements and incorporating them into some shots in some case. Second thing that was complicated was we were getting video game assets and other assets and mixing them in, but putting in the elements we had shot on green screen. So that in itself, we had to worry about timing, and we had to worry about if it would look good in terms of like sizing of everyone and whatnot. And then, we incorporated special effects. I mean, Jack shoots a fireball at one point, and that was, I think someone had filmed a fireball in front of a green... It was a green screen element I was able to get and incorporate into the film. And then the other thing was we were using an entirely new editing software. But it did work out. It was tough. A lot of it was me tinkering and figuring things out. I would show it to my wife, kind of get her idea. Jack thought it was the coolest thing in the world, especially when I started incorporating the Mario sound effects and the music. He thought, oh my god, this is so cool. And that just really kind of like rallied me to keep going. So once, that part was done, the rest of the movie was fairly simple to cut in. So I had done my first cut of the film. So Becca, she kind of wanted to have a say in the cut. So Becca was a co-editor on the film, and her elements were things I would never have thought of, and I thought she did such a phenomenal job, incorporating all that. We went ahead and we said, you know what, let's do a premiere. We did a digital premiere for the Family Edition 1, and so we decided let's do an actual, real, in-person premiere. We hadn't done one in a while. The COVID period was over in the sense we were all vaccinated. We felt a lot more comfortable because we were vaxxed, and so we said, okay, cool, let's do this. And everyone canceled. It was hilarious. We invited like 10 people or something like that because we wanted to keep it small because we were still kind of worried about COVID and whatnot. Everyone, for their own different reasons, canceled, and it wasn't out of like an anger or out of anything like that. It's just people were busy. People had things they had to do and life. And so he ended up just doing a digital premiere, which was kind of funny because it kept the tradition going. So yeah, this movie was really cool. It was really fun to do. I look forward to doing future projects with Jack, after he became really involved in this. And, it was great for Beck and I too. I think we made a stronger sequel. I think the revised Family Edition is a better movie than the original by a long shot. And so we're taking our break right now. Our son is turning 6 this year, which means that 10 years from now, at the time of this recording, it's the year 2022. So I guess in 2032, around there, Jack will be 16 and we'll be ready to move forward and to create the third and final movie in this trilogy. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this behind the scenes video. We are going to have a lot more content coming up for the channel related to films and what I make and things like that. So yeah, please stick around for more of that content. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.